He shoved her against steel. She didn't break. In 10 seconds you'll learn why the quiet woman with a broken watch, an empty wallet, and a memory of a dusty road outranked everyone on that ship, including him, inspired by a tale of command and consequence. Mia Bayer wore a borrowed name and a plain gray uniform. No ribbons, no shine, only a hairline crack across the face of her watch, a spiderweb of frozen time. She kept it under her sleeve. She kept everything under her sleeve. The carrier's corridors smelled like oil and salt. Footsteps hit the deck in a steady beat. She matched their rhythm. She matched the jokes she did not find funny. She matched the silence that came after them. They called her systems tech. They called her late to briefings she scheduled. It was fine. The mission needed quiet. Captain Rowan Hale didn't do quiet. He filled rooms by standing still. He spoke like a hammer. He liked fast plans and fast loyalty. He didn't like the gray uniform tech correcting his map. Your corridor is a trap, she said, calm. Small words. You'll lose the drones in the canal. They loop, he moved close. His mouth was a hard line. The watch ticked once, then failed, then tried again. The corridor stands, he said. Stand down. She didn't. The map showed arcs she knew by heart. The arcs were wrong. She reached to adjust the projection. He shoved her. Not far, not long, just a burst of rage that pressed her spine to cold metal and released it. The room went hollow. The crew stared at the deck plates. Mia took one breath. Then another. She fixed the sleeve over the broken watch. She met his eyes without heat. You've crossed a line, she said. Someone coughed. A vent rattled. A pen rolled like it wanted to be anywhere else. Rowan blinked. A muscle jumped in his jaw. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who thought pressure made diamonds, and he had forgotten diamonds can shatter. Out, he said to the room. All of you. The officers poured out. Their boots learned to squeak. The door sealed. The ship hummed in the white noise of electricity and distance. Mia glanced at the metal. No dent, her ribs would bloom blue tomorrow. It didn't matter. You're done here, he said. I'll have you off my deck by dusk. She looked at the map. She saw the pinch point, the false harbor, the drone repeats. She saw the way his plan would carve his ship. Keep the drones out of the canal, she said softly. I said you're done. She nodded like a tired stranger in a bus station. She slid her empty wallet from her pocket, thumbed the worn edges. No cash, no cards. Just a folded scrap with a frequency written in pencil, a number that could end this pretense faster than she wanted. The captain watched her. He saw a tech with nothing. He didn't see the admiral under the cloth. Security, he said into the comm. Escort the systems tech to holding. Motion charge, insubordination. 2 sailors arrived. Polite faces, tight hands. It's all right, Mia told them. I know the way. They walked her past hatches, wires, the smell of coffee burned to bitterness. She noted fire control, blast doors, the dead zone in the camera grid. She counted heartbeats. The watch didn't. In holding, the cot was a slab. The air was dry. The overhead buzzed like a gnat that never tires. She held the wallet. She held the watch. She held the memory of a dusty road, flat and bright, cutting a prairie where the wind never learned to stop. She was 10 in that memory. Her mother said, spend carefully. You will always need what you cannot buy. Her father said nothing. He wound the watch and set it in her palm, like a promise he couldn't keep. A soft footstep outside the cell. Not the sailors, lighter, quicker. A folded note slid under the door. She knelt. She opened it. One line only. Admiral, abort cover, compromised. Mia closed her eyes. The word admiral felt like a bell beneath the sea. Another line of graphite shone near the edge. A time, a hatch number, a route through the dead camera zone she had just mapped in her head. Voices rose down the passage. The captains among them clipped, controlled. Mia slipped the watches back with a fingernail. The plate lifted. The cavity inside was shallow and full. A sliver of metal. A witness, her seal. The one thing the sea, the captain, and the lie could not challenge. Boots stopped at the door. She pressed the plate back. She slid the empty wallet into the mattress seam. She breathed once to wash the anger from her face and leave only duty. The lock turned. Bayer, Rowan said, voice low. Let's see who you are. The hinges cried. The door began to swing and the lights went out. Darkness hit like surf. Loud. Total. It swallowed the room and then the ship. Somewhere far off, a breaker tripped and tried again. Failed. Backup power, someone barked. Not the captain. Another voice. Edges too sharp. A man who wanted this, Mia stood. Her hand found the wall. Cool. Sweating with condensation. She traced the seam of the door. Don't move, Rowan said. Close now. Nobody moves. He was right to say it. The dark can make people run into knives. It can make them run into themselves. Mia counted. 10, 20, 30. The watch did nothing. The watch was only a story now. A faint click at her ankle. Not hers. The door's manual dog engaged. The lock tried to reassert itself and failed. The door eased open 2 fingers, then stopped like it remembered it was supposed to be a door. Mia slid sideways and pushed. Her shoulder found air. She moved through the gap and into a hallway that had become an animal. It growled at every touch. Buyer! Rowan again. Too close. He grabbed for her sleeve and closed on empty air because she had already stepped wide. He swore, but not loud. He was trained. He never made the ship smaller than it already was. A narrow red bar came alive above them. The emergency strip lit like a wound. It threw a thin river down the deck. It showed the faces it chose and left the rest to mystery. Mia moved into that river, down 2 ladders, left at the pipe with the painted stripe. Under the low bulkhead where tall sailors learned to duck, the note had promised an unmarked hatch. It was there, a navel of metal and a wall of metal. She twisted the lever. She passed into the space between skin and spine. Cable runs, air that smelled like some other century. The hatch closed and the noise of the ship blurred into a hum. She crouched. She felt for rungs stapled into the wall. She began to climb. Her throat tasted like lightning. As she moved, she saw the ship in her mind. She had studied this class years ago when the designers still argued about the shape of the bow. She had approved the second prototype. She had signed the paper that made this hull possible. Her name lived in its bones even if this crew didn't know it. The ladder ended. A grate waited. She pressed her ear to it. Voices, engineering, too many, too loud. It wasn't just a blackout. Someone had pulled wires and names and pride. She slid the grate aside by teeth of inches. She looked down. A panel lay open like a chest wound. A man in civilian overalls knelt among colored veins. He held a tool he shouldn't hold. He whispered into a throat mic. Phase 2 complete. Captain Rowan's voice came through a speaker above the chaos. Report, he said, calm, cracked. A petty officer screamed without sound. Then he had sound. Sir, main bus is down. It won't answer. We have ghosts in the relays. Ghosts is what they say when they mean hands. Mia dropped to the decking. She landed behind a bank of cabinets. Her knee complained. She told it no. The civilian twisted. He sensed air move. He stared into the shadows and saw nothing he wanted to name. Mia slipped around the cabinet's edge and caught the civilian's wrist. The tool clanged. The room froze. Who are you? He hissed. Maintenance, she said. You don't belong here. Neither do you. His other hand went for the mic. She broke the mic with the heel of her hand. The plastic folded. The hiss died. Security. He tried to shout. The word dragged around his teeth. An alarm somewhere else on the ship began to bark. Not for them. For the sky outside. Drones. The pattern was unmistakable if you had watched them hunt. The civilian drove his shoulder into Mia's ribs. Pain exploded like a small fire. She rode it. She turned the shoulder, used his weight, folded him to the deck. He tried again. She let him miss. His fingers found her watch. He felt the crack. He laughed once. Cheap. She tightened her grip. Time's expensive. Footsteps charged toward engineering. 3 guards, hearts eager to pick a side. Mia let the civilian breathe. She looked up at the new faces and used rank that did not exist for them. You, she said, pointing. Seal that panel and give me bus bond. 10 seconds. Who are... Move. Something in her tone reached the part of him that remembered boot camp. He moved. The second guard hesitated, then obeyed the first. The third watched her hands, smart, nervous. The intercom cracked. All stations, Rowan said. Form drone defense posture. The guards looked at each other, then passed Mia to the man on the floor. The civilian's eyes begged them to see him. They didn't. They watched Mia because the room did. The bus bond kissed the board. A low thrum ran through the deck. Lights flirted with existence. Good, Mia said. Now give me 2 and 4. Skip 3. It's dirty. The smart guard didn't move. How do you... Because I dirtied it, she said. Move. He moved. The lights held. Weak. Enough. Rowan's voice again. Whoever did that, keep doing it, Mia exhaled. She thought of the dusty road. Long. Honest. You could see trouble coming from a mile out if you kept your eyes up. The civilian rolled. He went for a hidden blade. She kicked it away. It skittered under a cabinet that never fully forgives anything it swallows. Get him to holding, she told the guards. And find me the captain. Why? Because he's about to learn something he won't like. The smart guard frowned. He didn't ask again. He lifted the civilian. The other two helped. They left a smear of grease that looked like a map of a country nobody would visit twice. Mia checked the board. 3 was indeed dirty, spiked. Someone had planned for bright failure and quiet success. The quiet kind kills ships. She reached for the intercom switch. A shadow cut the doorway. Rowan. Alone. Face pale in new light, eyes not the same as before. You, he said. Hands where I can see them. She put her hands up. The broken watch caught the light. It made a small, stubborn star. Tell me your name, he said. She did. Not. Then tell me why my ship just obeyed your voice, he said. Because your ship knows its designer, she said. He stared. I'm done, he said finally. Turn around, he drew his sidearm. He aimed at a place between past and present. Mia turned. She felt the line she had promised herself she would not cross rise like a tide. She heard the word on the note, clear as a trumpet. She opened her mouth and the intercom exploded with a new voice, crisp as winter. Admiral Bayer Fleetcom, status. Rowan's breath stopped. The gun did not. The second wave split. Smarter than the first, they searched edges and found one we had left by breathing. Starboard gap, the watch officer said. His mouth went dry on the last word. Feed the wake, Mia said. No hero turns, Rowan relayed. The helm obeyed. The ship curled, all steel and intent. A flicker touched the tactical screen. Not drone. Not weather. A mark that wore a friendly skin. If says ours, sensors whispered. But it's not ours. Designation? Mia asked. Angel 9. Her broken watch flashed as if it had heard its old name. Angel 9 had belonged to a test squad she had buried with a signature and a sleepless week. How is that flying? Rowan asked. Kestrel stole our dead birds, she said. They wear uniforms better than men do. The bridge held its breath. The drones closed like cold rain you can't dodge. Delta now. Her voice left no place to doubt. The carrier threw foam and lies. Drones bit the wake and tore their own mouths. The Angel kept coming. Rowan's knuckles whitened on the rail. It's painted on us, he said. Hard lock. Who tagged us? Mia asked. A petty officer turned. Fear sat behind his eyes like an uninvited guest. Admiral, he said. The tag reads your code. Silence doesn't make a sound. It makes space. Mia looked at the watch. A hairline crack across years of good and bad orders. She remembered the dusty road. How you saw your mistakes long before you reached them if you didn't blink. She reached for the comm. Fleetcom, this is Bayer. My code is compromised. Cut Angel 9 guidance, the speaker hissed. Nothing answered. Rowan stared at her. The Angel's icon fattened. Admiral, the sensor tech whispered. Your code just retagged us. Again. The missile's timer began to count where everyone could see it. Kill the beacon, Mia said. Pull our tooth. Rowan nodded to signals. Fingers flew. Nothing changed. The Angel loved them too much. Manual, Mia said. Below decks. Old copper. Rowan didn't argue. They ran. The corridor narrowed into heat and wire. The ship's bones thumped with its pulse. Men flattened to let them pass. Nobody met her eyes. Everyone knew her now. She thought of the empty wallet in holding. Leather worn to kindness. Nothing inside. Emptiness is also a signal. They reached auxiliary comms. A locked cage glared back. Rowan's badge kissed the reader. Red Mia slid the watch off her wrist. She pressed the seal at the back to the old brass plate. The lock remembered a promise and opened. Inside, the relay board looked like a small city under blackout. She traced a cable with 2 fingers. Here, she said. Cut, Rowan cut. Sparks bit and died. The Angel's icon stuttered on the bridge repeater above the door. It searched, hungry. It found less of them. Again, Mia said. There's a shadow feed. He cut deeper. He peeled back a false sheath. Kestrel liked its trick smooth. The icon slipped, then steadied on them once more. Her chest went hollow. They're outside, she said. Mother control is near. In the canal, a supply barge had docked at dawn, Charity stenciled on its side. She had not liked its font, a clatter at the hatch, a boot, a pause, then a voice that wore crisp like glass. By order of Fleetcom, detain Admiral Beyer. Rowan turned. His own chief of security stood there, sidearm level, eyes begging not to be here. Sir, the chief said to Rowan, not to Mia. Warrant is clean. Charges, mutiny, code breach, impersonation. Rowan's hand hovered in air between duty and sense. Behind him, the Angel's timer shed another second. Mia lifted her hands. The broken watch glittered like a star that refused to learn modesty. Cuff me, she said, calm. But listen while you do. The chief stepped in. Rowan didn't move aside. He held the space like a doorframe. Chief, Mia said, open the warrant. Read the issuing officer. He did. His lips trembled on the name. Admiral Voren. Rowan's eyebrows rose. Voren loved private dinners with public contractors. Kestrel always sent the wine, Chief, Rowan said, voice low. Set those cuffs. Then leave the room. Sir, now. Metal kissed Mia's wrists. Cold. She swallowed the old anger. She had built ships to keep men like Voren from choosing which ones got to live well. The chief left. The hatch shut. The room shrank to blood and electricity. Rowan turned back. He set his knife to the last sheath. Say your plan, he said. 2 parts, she said. Starboard ballast. We bleed mass fast and lean into the wake. We make a second ship out of water and echo. The Angel chooses the louder ghost. And the mother? We tag her with what's left of my code. Not a command. A confession. Kestrel wrote it to obey power. Let it sniff rank, he cut. The false feed died with a tiny private cry. Alarms changed key. The Angel wavered. Rowan hit the intercom. Orders rippled up and out. Tanks groaned. The carrier bent like a bow without breaking. The screen upstairs showed 2 silhouettes. One steel. One made of churned sea and clever lies. The Angel lunged at the wrong one. It blossomed at the edge of their sight. Heat rolled down the conduit and patted their faces like a rough hand that meant well. Mia exhaled. The watch stayed broken, but it felt true. Mother? Rowan asked. Canal, she said. The charity barge. Cut its throat clean. He nodded and moved. A heavy thud vibrated the deck. Grapnels, hooks, boots. Voices barked above. Not her sailors. Men who spoke in contracts. A new channel opened in the room's small speaker. Smooth. Familiar. Mia, Admiral Voren said, almost kind. Stand down. We'll fix this in private, Rowan's jaw set. He handed her the knife. He did not take back the cuffs. Decide, she said. He looked at the blade. He looked at the door. He lifted the knife, and the hatch wheel began to turn from the other side. The hatch wheel turned. Slow. Sure. Whoever stood outside wasn't afraid of time. Rowan lifted the knife. Not high, not for show. He held it low where work lives. He didn't look at me. He looked at the door like it had insulted his ship. Decide, I said. He nodded once. Decided. The wheel finished its circle. The hatch edged inward. A wedge of bright corridor lay on the floor like a blade you could step on. 3 men came through. 2 wore gray jumpsuits with clean knees. 1 wore our blue. The chief. Eyes like a tide that didn't know if it should come in. By order of Fleetcom, he began. Close it, Rowan said. The chief held his breath. Then he pulled the hatch in. Then he spun the wheel back the other way with a speed that came from a part of him that had already made a choice. The gray men cursed. Boots scuffed. 1 tried to wedge a foot. The wheel kept going. The chief won. Key, Rowan said. The chief tossed one that wasn't ours. The head was stamped with a bird I had taught myself to hate. Kestrel. You gave me the warrant, I said. I also wrote the note, he said. I saw the tilt of him now. Not betrayal, balance. Admiral, I'm sorry, he added, and it sounded like a person, not a uniform. Rowan cut the cuffs. Metal fell to the deck like a decision finally spoken. He slid the knife back into my hand. We end this, he said. Alarms shifted again. A new tone. Grapnels clatter. The ship had visitors who didn't sign in. The barge, I said. We cut the leash at the throat, not the tail. Rowan's mouth made the smallest ghost of a smile. Engineers always talk like butchers. We're all just trying to keep meat from spoiling, I said, and he laughed once, awful and honest. We moved. The chief led down a maintenance run as narrow as a lie that barely fits your mouth. The red emergency strip bled along the deck. We wove through signal trunks, ducked under pipework, came up in a bay that smelled like old rope and cheap paint. A hatch opened tonight, to spray, to the moon's ragged wrist. The charity barge sat tight on our starboard, made harmless by fonts and a faded flag. Men in black harnesses rode our rails and welded kindness into iron. Rowan raised his hand. 2 sailors behind cover raised rifles, then lowered them. He shook his head. Not yet. Noise would draw more noise. I pulled the broken watch off and felt its weight leave a circle of skin. I slipped the back. The wafer gleamed inside. It looked small. It held too much. Once I insert, I said, my key ends. The mother will feel rank pull and show its throat. Then every dog will want to bite it. Rowan glanced at the wafer. And you? I go back to walking dusty roads, I said. I can do that, he didn't argue. He knew you don't save a ship by arguing with the sea. We crossed a net slung between hull and hull. It sagged over black water that sounded busy, like it had found work it loved. The barge deck was coated with something gray, cement dust. It took prints and kept them. My boots left a trail like a paper I could not take back. It felt like the road I had grown up on, grit on tongue, wind in ear.